Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another session of podcast. I wish and I'm sure you will enjoy listening to the broadcast.
So, our topic for today is fasting. Every culture, every race in the world has its own form of fasting, has its own recommendations on fasting. Every religion, in fact, recommends fasting. Especially in India, fasting, more than just for health, it's very closely associated with spirituality. We associate fasting with certain specific days. Of course, there's always a deep scientific reason behind why we fast and why we fast on certain days. So let's understand from Dr. Nandagopalan a little more about what is fasting. So, sir, before we deep dive into the types of fasting and the benefits, etc., what really is fasting, if there could be a definition for it?
Fasting is a very big subject by itself. As you said, every cultural part of the human civilization has their own pattern of food and nutrition according to the geography what they have.
Right.
Today you have the fastest transporting part of the global network. Every food made and grown everywhere is available everywhere. Like you get a kiwi fruit from New Zealand in China. Right? So you get the Washington apples from in any part of the world. Tasmanian apples are sold in every part of the world. So cultures had different kinds of food and nutrition according to the geography of the area in which they lived. They have slowly understood many things as the years went by. And fasting was one of the most brilliant concepts that human brain could understand. Because if you carefully look at the human life, we are basically conditioned to food and nutrition as our support system.
Right.
Then on the other side, if you look, the other dimension that 24 hours we breathe. So the outside world contact for us, the primary contact for us is breathing, air, which the oxygenation is required. Because 65% of your body is made out of oxygen atoms. The next one is 70% of your construction of the human body is water molecules. They are H3O2. They are not H2O. So we support our systems with water. So the maximum food and nutrition, whichever type that you eat, it's all water.
Right.
You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Either you drink a tea, coffee, or a juice, or a fruit, or cooked food. We cook one glass of rice, we get so much of rice. It's water.
Water.
So literally 50 to 70% of the components which you eat is again water. Then the solid components come. So there are three major outside world contact for a human body is air, water, and solid food.
Solid food.
If you understand this, you cannot stay away from breathing. It's not possible.
It's not possible, yeah.
Is it possible?
No.
You die. If there is no breathing, you're gone.
Right.
That cannot be stopped because we'll be doing a program on cellular respiration. So constantly oxygen is required individually to every cell. The second thing is water. You cannot survive without water. It's impossible.
Right.
But you can survive without food for a period of time.
True, yeah.
So staying without solid food is fasting. Either you take 4 meals a day or 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day according to the practice of your parents, how they brought you up with food and nutrition of that particular family in which you're born. So we are constantly used to food which starts with milk as you are born. Right? Milk is your first food.
First food.
That's why when in all our culture, if you see in the Indian traditional system, irrespective of South or North or anything, it is followed in many parts of the world. When the person is about to die, they put a little bit of milk in his mouth. You must be knowing that. Because that was the first food intake when he was born.
That was the first food.
That's why they put that milk. So if you want to know what exactly is fasting, the word fasting is to stay away from solid food
Solid food.
for a period of time. That's what is fasting.
Okay. So there are, so since you said stay away from solid food, there are different types of fasting, and some people have fruits, or some people have certain tubers like potato or tapioca. That seems to be allowed. Some people refrain only from rice but eat wheat. So some people have really only hot water. Jains and all, for example, have only hot water. I've heard during their fasting. It's a prolonged 40-day fasting. So are there different types of fasting that, or fasting is just staying away from solid food?
No. The first one which you asked is completely contradictory. Staying away from solid food is fasting.
Yeah.
Eating only tapioca or eating only carbohydrates or eating only aloo is not fasting.
It's not fasting.
No, it is not
Even
fasting.
eating only fruits cannot be considered as fasting.
No. Fasting is no food.
No food.
But still you will drink some water. This is very clear.
Right.
If you talk about the Jain had a system. That technically we are going to come to that later. What is science behind fasting?
Right.
In Jain practice, Jainism, those who follow that religion, Jains understood certain science behind this fasting. When they fall ill, they just stop eating till they recover.
Till you recover.
They don't go through medication. A strong Jain practices fasting as a treatment to his ailment. Suppose he's stuck with a virus fever and that's going to last him for 5 days. He's not going to eat. He gets all right within 3 days.
Okay.
He has not had any antibiotic. He has not had any paracetamol. But his religious faith is for me to fast and get myself recorrected. That is fasting. Because he's staying away from food. Anything that you eat, a specific thing, and stay away from all the other things. For example, I eat only fruits and call that as a fasting. It cannot be fasting because you are feeding yourself with carbohydrates again.
Right. And sugar.
So this is very clear. Fasting is a concept which you stay away from food for a period of time. Suppose somebody says, I don't have dinner, I only have my breakfast and lunch. That is fasting. That particular fasting is staying away from dinner. He is not having any food. So he has his food around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon as his lunch. Then he goes straight to his next food intake. After the dawn, the next day, his breakfast. That's fasting. Or if suppose somebody is, my auspicious day is Thursday, and I contribute a lot to Vyaran, Guru, the planet Jupiter, Thursday. That day they don't eat anything. I know a lot of Mawardi families, they don't eat anything on Tuesday, but they still have some liquids. So that's one level of fasting. They have liquids because as we are born, in the initial 3 to 6 months, we only take liquid food, which is much lesser a burden to your stomach and intestines.
Digestive system.
Stomach and intestines, the internal organs. Digestion will come to later. The functioning of the organ. There is no strain at all when you take liquid food. That's why when you are sick, you are given only kanji.
Right.
You see, all the liquid. Yeah. That's not again fasting. Fasting is something staying away from solid food.
Okay.
So you cannot call there is a different types of fasting and all that. I won't agree to that. The fasting is staying away from solid food.
Okay.
Still, if you're going to have your tea and coffee or your fruit juice or your kanji, that's not fasting.
That's still not fasting.
No fasting, no. H2O water is one thing which is basically, as I told you, breathing of air and water is a must.
Is a must.
That you cannot stay away. You are forced to have it. There are some people who stay away from water also at times. Yeah.
Okay, for our viewers, anything that's called fasting but involves any kind of solid food is not fasting. I'm sure that the benefits that you get from real fasting are not there in that from what Sir is saying. So before we go into the benefits of fasting, what is the science? So when you fast for a prolonged period of time, say 12 hours, 24 hours, or whatever it is, what is it that really happens to the body internally?
See, if you carefully look at the biochemistry part of the human body, when we eat, you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Whenever we eat, what happens? The food get mixed with lots of saliva, and then goes into your through the food tube to the esophagus, and then it goes into the stomach. The stomach is a grinder. So then we are not going to very intricacy details of salivary part of it, the liver part of it, and all that. The stomach grinds into pulp, and then there is something called Z canal before the duodenal, which connects the stomach and the intestine. Is called duodenal. This is Z canal before that. The Z canal will be tight enough, unless there is a pulp condition. Once it's reached, then the Z canal opens and the food goes in through the duodenal to the intestines, smaller intestine. The lumen of the intestine absorbs whatever that you want required to the body. This is what. Now, what happens here when you eat? Your BP tends to go up.
Okay.
Why? You measure your BP before your food. You measure your BP after your food. There's a distinct difference will be there. Why the BP goes up? Because the food is coming to the stomach. Now the stomach has got a lot of work to do. The liver process and send the acids. Then they start grinding. For which you need a lot of blood supply.
Blood supply, right.
That is one for cellular respiration. Because these cells collectively has to work to make the food into pulp. Second, it needs certain amount of heat at the same time. So your cardiovascular system of your vascularization is going to concentrate a lot with respect to your gastro. Right? Gastroenteritis is in all the internal organs which is connected to the digestive factors of your body.
Right.
It needs a lot of heat. So the BP goes up. Then what happens here after the food is digested and absorbed by the intestine, then it goes to the portal vein only to the liver, and the liver scans and send it outside. It's a safeguard, send it outside. Then the nutrients is supplied to the body. Right?
Yeah.
So here most of the thing are water soluble. So 50% of your blood is plasma, which is water based. So they go and all dissolve there and then start getting transported. So if you take vitamin B, there are eight part of it. There are 8 different vitamin Bs there. Vitamin C is one. They are all water soluble. A, D, E and K is fat soluble.
Fat soluble.
And then they are transported by lipids. So the blood becomes acidic in nature because there's so much of dissolved components in the plasma. The body has to supply everything and get the plasma back very fast to the pH value. So from this, what one can understand is we constantly load our blood into various types of molecular values which may or may not require to the body. Depending on the food you eat, out of which the main this thing is glucose for cellular drive, cellular function, which has to be transported individually to every cell. If you want to really understand the magnitude of this whole operation going on, I can give you an example. You have one centralized kitchen in Delhi and supply food to the entire human population of the world according to their time. The breakfast time in Canada is different from the breakfast time in Australia. Like that. So if you have a centralized kitchen in Delhi and supply 780 crore people food, which is not even 1/1000th of the work what the body is doing.
Wow.
Because if you take the glucose alone, 100 trillion cells has to be supplied glucose individually.
Individually, right.
Then the magnitude of having a centralized kitchen for 780 crore people, that is 7.8 billion, and supplying it to all the humanity around the planet Earth is not even peanuts compared to what's. Imagine 1,000 billion make a trillion. 100 trillion cells has to be constantly supplied glucose as and when they need it. You can imagine what sort of a work is going on inside.
Right.
Right? So when it comes to the question of fasting, what exactly the science behind it is, you're purifying your blood, making your hematology healthier. That's what exact science behind the fasting. Yeah.
So, sir, if I made the converse of this would be that if you keep on even in small quantities, but you eat too often, or you have the habit of munching something, just the opposite should be happening to the blood. It should be getting more acidic. Am I right?
No, either you are having 3 meal a day or 2 meal a day, or in small portions 5-6 times, or keep munching anything. You are loading huge amount of molecular value which do not belong to the blood. The blood has to get rid of it as fast as possible to retain the pH value.
Right.
So if you eat a lot of proteins, then the blood goes more acidic, then the osteoclasts take place, the blood will, then the calcium is drawn from the bone to retain the pH value of the blood. So over a span of time, you go osteoporosis. Yeah.
So coming to the benefits of fasting, if we do before I go to that, actually, what is a moderate fasting that a normal individual, a healthy individual should do?
See, there is no question of moderate fasting or a severe fasting or a meticulous fasting. This language complicates the whole thing. Fasting is a simple stuff which you stay without a food for a period of time based on whatever that you feel like it's good for you.
Okay.
There is number one. Say, for example, I will tell you, if you fast one full day, that is effectively from the sunrise to sunrise. Stick only to water if it is needed. That too. Drinking tea, coffee is not fasting.
Right.
I'm sorry. Fasting means unna nonbu. Tamil. Unna nonbu. That means staying without food. See, if you say, no, tea and coffee is only a liquid. No, it has so much of molecular value in it. Because you have put sugar there, you have put milk there, you have put tea decoction there, water there, It's a food by itself.
Right.
So, one day of fasting in a week, a particular day. So, 6 days a week you eat food and one day you fast, and that should be from sunrise to sunrise. See, the modern science have defined the calendar day between 12 midnight to 12 midnight. That's not correct.
Yeah, from sunrise.
The biological clock doesn't work that way. There is something called biological clock. That works synchronized with sunrise to sunrise. So the day in the ancient system is sunrise to sunrise. Okay? The fasting, if you are going to do one day, after the dawn, you are going to stay away from food till the next sunrise.
Next sunrise.
That is one full day of fasting. And if you're going to practice that for about once a day in the week, and that's going to be a blessing in disguise situation for you, that onset of many diseases can be avoided. It balances you. It's a balancing act by itself, because the 6 days of corrupting yourself with food and nutrition to various levels gets cleared in that day. The load.
Okay.
Because when you don't introduce food into your system, this gastro is not going to work. So there is no rise in BP because there is so much of cellular function is going on there. That's going to be cut off. There is so much of heat production that's going to be cut off. The blood is going to concentrate on so many other things. The metabolism is going to recorrect itself. The blood is going to release its acidity to a large extent. Acidic levels, and there's that means one can understand that fasting by itself is a cleansing system.
It's a cleansing, right?
Yeah.
So while it is a body cleansing, most fasting in our culture is very closely associated to spirituality or religion, maybe also. We fast on Ekadashi, or we fast on Chaturthi, certain days. So how is it related to the spirituality of a person or the mind of a person? Is there some correlation between fasting and how we think?
In my personal understanding and learning, whatever little that I could do, let me tell you very frankly, I don't know how exactly you define this word spirituality. First thing.
Okay, let me.
Is it based on God, or is it based on culture? Is it based on your parents or also your God? Or is it based on your teacher?
Not really, sir. Not based on anybody outside. When I talk about spirituality, I'm talking about a person and his mind, that relationship. So, and not anything outside. So, how
I
does
would
it affect
request you
the-
to look at this way. If you really go and closely observe the nature, human being is a product of nature. The soul is functioning you, right? The soul in you is the part of God.
Right.
That's what Andam says. Okay, it is correct. And Adi Shankara says, Jivatmavum, Paramatmavum, one same. Okay. So the speck of that mass energy, which is called the God, the power of nature, is your soul inside you, functioning you, is divine in nature. The earth suit for that God inside you is your physical
Is your
built
body.
body, right? So the body is a temple by itself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, how pure you are going to keep your body with respect to the harmonious rhythmic function of the entire human body, which is synchronizing itself with various mechanisms and operations related to number of internal organs functioning all the time in the world. You can understand one thing: from the time you are close to 8 weeks as an embryo inside a mother's womb, your heart starts beating. Say, for example, if you're going to live for 106 years, can your heart stop? No. It stops when?
After you die, when you die.
When you die. Same wise, every internal, the blood flow can stop, it cannot. It cannot even clot, which is called thrombosis.
Thrombosis.
It's going to create a lot of problem for you. And the blood is keep on running, right? It doesn't stay somewhere. It cannot take rest.
It cannot take rest.
No.
Yeah.
So you can understand the earth suit, which is your body, which is called the temple, how good, normal, away from all kinds of imbalances which may be called as diseases. How well you are going to keep yourself. That's what when we explain responsibility, the first responsibility is physical responsibility. What you do, whether you're going to fast or whether you're going to eat simple food, whether you're going to eat a type of food, all that is different. Now here the concept is, let's move away from fasting and all that. How healthy you're going to remain is what is very important, for which fasting may help you. Number one. Number two, the more and more you're going to be acidic in nature because of excess eating or whatever, the more and more you're going to have an impact over your behavioral and thinking pattern. Because the food is directly related to the thought patterns.
Thought pattern.
That is for sure.
So now there is intermittent fasting, which a lot of people now are aware of it, and there's a lot of buzz around it. People follow it. So intermittent fasting is just keeping certain fixed periods of fasting between meals, etc. So how much do you not recommend, but your views on it, on intermittent fasting? If somebody is doing it, what kind of diet should they really adopt?
Actually speaking, if you carefully look at a human life in any part of the world, we need some amount of food. There is no doubt, because we need glucose, because we are used to glucose conditioning life, right? So in Tamil there is a proverb: 1 meal a day. Okay, you're a
yogi.
2 meal a day, you're a bogi. 3 meal a day, you're a rogi. That means you're
sick.
No, you're paying away to onset of certain diseases.
Sickness,
So if you're going to have 1 meal a day, say exactly round about either before 9 o'clock or after 11 o'clock, and then it's always better to have it before 9.
Yeah.
And that 1 meal you eat as much as you want to. And then the next meal is the next day. So by 5:30 in the evening, this food is completely digested and your stools are also out.
Right.
Okay. So now, what happens once you pass your stool by between around 4:35 or 5:30, whatever? Now your colon, everything is free. Your intestines are free, right? Because the food which you have taken in the morning is processed, digested, absorbed, and the processing is being done, and the waste elements and the resistant starch, everything is out. All is over. Now, till next day, 8 o'clock or 8:30 that you're going to have food, your entire system will have a lot of time to recorrect itself. The repair and damage work is very fast and good enough. Okay? Because that's all the food you require.
Right.
Okay? Now, if you're going to practice that, it's going to be a beautiful concept. Now, here, intermittent fasting, which they have come out with that recently, that they have, you come out with new things, like.
Or other new names for old things.
Yeah. New things, like 16 hours a day. Now, here, if you take this one meal a day system, so every 24 hours once, you're going to eat one.
Right.
That is between 8:15 and 8:30, you have your food, one meal a day. Again, after 24 hours, 8:15, you're going to sit down for the next session of your food. That calendar day is over between sunrise to sunrise.
Sunset. Right.
So you're having your meal after the calendar day of next day sunrise. So what is breakfast? The Englishmen kept the name breakfast. Is you break the fast because you have your dinner at 7:30 or 8.
Right.
The next day morning when you're going to have your breakfast at 8 o'clock, there are nearly 12 hours of no food. So that is called as a fast because there is no food. Actually, it's correct.
Right.
The word fast there is correct. It exactly means it. No intake between the dinner to breakfast, 12 hours, 10 hours or 12 hours or 13 hours, whatever. And you break the fast. That's why it's called breakfast.
Right.
You know that, right?
Right.
So you heard about it. So now, if you are going to, have no food of 16 hours, this intermittent fasting, it's good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough. You have, maybe you have food at around afternoon, and then you go back to your breakfast in the morning, 16 hours of
16
no
hours.
food intake.
Okay.
But if you're going to have some tea, coffee or juice, that's not allowed. You're loading your system again.
Yeah. So finally, what does the ancient Tamil science speak and recommend about fasting?
See, ancient Tamil science had a fantastic understanding because the science of astrology come into play, right? The astrological science is an amazing science. It is just not your horoscope and all that stuff. It is much beyond that. That's a small chapter which is called Arudam, which represents less than 5% of your science. Now, if you look at the ancient Tamil civilization, which was a supreme civilization, they understood everything, the human chemistry and all that stuff. They have given different types of fasting. We have done one program on Saivam and Asaivam.
Right.
And you have done that, you know about it. Now, we'll not go into that. That's a separate concept by itself. Now, here, a real good fasting is completely connected to the microbiome of the body. They were so brilliant at that. So, this 27 stars.
Right.
From Ashwini it starts to, Uttaratadi, whatever. Then again, the cycle starts. So, you are born in, say, Anuradha, which is called Anusham.
Nakshatra.
Yeah. That will come every 27 days once. It will start in a particular time. Anusham may start today at around 11:32. It is going to last till 10:56 the next day. Don't eat in this period.
Okay.
Janma Nakshatra. The star in which you're born. Then, same wise, the new moon day, Amavasa, starts. It will start at around 4:32 in the morning. That is 4:32 in the evening. It will last till about 3:36 the next day. You should know the timing, the timing. Don't eat that day. Same like Paurnami, full moon day. Then in between new moon to full moon to new moon, this 14 days and then 30 days, right? In between Ashtami comes the 8th day. You see the calculator, you can see in that calendar chart, that Panchangam, what they call it, which time to which time is Ashtami they would have put. So 2 Ashtamis, Paurnami, that is full moon day, and new moon day, Amavasya, and your Janma Nakshatra. If these 5 days, if you fast, because these are the days the bad microorganisms in the body excrete a lot and breed themselves a lot.
Okay.
Okay, that is toxic for us, highly toxic for us. If that day you're not going to give them food, because the part of their food, our food is their food. If you're not going to give intake, have intake that day, those buggers are going to stay calm. We are going to avoid ourselves from many toxic conditions. So this is the most brilliant way of understanding the human body, the human chemistry with respect to microbiome, which is related to the astronomical effect on the humanity which is living, because Earth is a planet on which we live, and we are the antenna for most of the things which is coming inside in form of cosmic wave.
Absolutely.
So fasting is designed on that. Okay. And during the festival days, say for example Mahashivratri, Pradosham, they fast.
Yeah.
And it has a lot of science behind it. It is all connected to the microbiome part of the body, because you're not only built with 100 trillion cells, you're built with 100 to minimum 200, 100 into 200, 100 into 300 trillion microorganisms inside, which has to be kept under the balance, and fasting exactly works behind that microbiome which is controlling our cellular function.
Thank you very much for spending your quality time. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you enjoyed this session. See you later.